Guys, welcome to another CEO/Founder Wisdom podcast. Not even sure how to name that podcast because we're going to talk about a bunch of things. I did these not so far future episodes last year, and I think that one would definitely be a bit label of that. Could also qualify as an AI wisdom podcast, longevity wisdom podcast. We have Mathieu Roy today. He's a special guest because him and we share a lot of things in common. Just that Matsi has like way more tokens in most of these fields, which we're gonna talk about. But before I do, Matsi, can you quickly introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about your role at OpenAI and Pentask?
Yeah. So I've been interested in the field of cryogenics and AI for a while, and I'm mostly focusing on AI right now. I'm working at OpenAI on the human feedback team. I do help mostly with quality control and giving the instructions about for our team of labelers. So we just have hundreds of people that will give feedback to the AI or about which output is preferred. And at Pentask, that's a business that I run. I do mostly lead generations these days, and I do it for organization in effective altruism and cryonics mostly. Yeah,
love it. Okay, so first thing, you and I shared, the radical transparency thing. So I want to start this interview in uncommon ways. My first impression of you, first I was reaching out to OpenAI stuff, and I don't know if it's a long hair or whatever, but a GP Sears kind of guy. But I was like, okay, this guy might be arrogant or something. I don't know why, but that occurred in my brain. Do you have a knowledge of like why do you think it's like long haired dude working at OpenAI? Okay, he's special. Why did my instincts tell me you'd be like intimidating in some way?
I really like that you shared this with me. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people wouldn't want to share this kind of the thing. Yeah, that's interesting to me. Like, I'm like, huh, like that's kind of surprising. Like, I don't really get that. Like, I often get the opposite. So yeah, I don't really know.
And the second question is like related to that. The second and the third. I've got this weird thing where I always talk shit about like Quebec, but I feel myself attracted to these founders from Montreal, and I don't really know why. Country is definitely not its citizens, and obviously we share culture, but that's also another thing. I don't want an answer on that one necessarily, but the third one I do, which is I've been reading your stuff and we're like passionate about the same thing, but you're like level 10 on pretty much everything. I kind of felt intimidated by that. I was like, this dude is, and yeah, it's, evolutionary theory and the competitor in me. I also cooperate a lot as we're doing today, but why do I feel you're like next level in anything? For example, in the prediction thing, like I've been, especially this year, since I came back from Vegas last year, I read the Moloch meditation by way yesterday, and I left it at the Vegas part, but I really had a bad impression of Vegas. It's like over capitalistic, whatever. But since I came back from there, I've been like pretty bold on my predictions. I've been doubling down on that, and I even want to put money on these, which will be a subject of conversation. But do you ever like look at people in like a field that you are passionate about that are like 100 times higher than you are and feel like shit, I'm like a bug when it comes to comparing myself to them?
So yeah, a few thoughts about this. Like sometimes I'm like, oh man, I feel really satisfied about where I am, and I'm like, and then I'm like, what? No, I shouldn't. I should always aim for more. Like, why am I satisfied? Like, like are the people like that I look up to, like, are they like they be satisfied if they were where I was? So like, I try to see like, oh, I could emulate them, or what's the next thing for me to reach, and yeah, right now, like yeah, right now, like the first recall a specific thing that I'm recalling, which I don't know if is representative of how I behave generally, but there's someone that's very similar to me. So like I relate to them. They're into a lot of the things that I'm into. They have very similar values. So maybe that's why didn't feel jealousy towards them. Like maybe I would feel, I don't know why I didn't feel jealousy basically, but I felt love. Like I'm, it's like weird to love someone that you don't really know. But yeah, I felt like loving it, and like, yeah,
Well, it's
like
the same. It's the same on my side. Like, and that was just like one thought out of many because I really worked the jealousy thing. And for example, 3 years ago, I thought I'd had zero jealousy left in me after like all of this inner working with coaches, therapies, and so forth. And yeah, I realized that sometimes I still have it. So it's like one microcosm of my whole reaction. It's mostly like excitement to speak today because yeah, we've got like a lot of topics to talk about. But what I'm referring to is, for example, your website. That's where I want to go, like a Notion looking website, like a wiki, sharing pretty much everything. I've had various websites and various platforms. I just wish it would be that way. Then the prediction thing, I'm like, shit, I need to start doing that as well. Because if you go on my LinkedIn, there's a bunch of prediction. I started including some numbers sometimes ago, even before I looked your things up. So my prediction did look around that way. And there's a year. Let's start with this. Your ultra transparency and taking notes on everything and life logging. What are the pros and the cons to that? Because you also film like every second of your life. Well, apparently, I don't think I'd go to that extreme. I don't know where you store all of that. Basically, you pay fortune for like GPUs and, well, not GPUs, but just storage space or whatever. Maybe you have a solution to that. um, why did you decided to do that in the first place, and what are the pros and the cons of doing that?
yeah, yeah. Some people are like into the live streaming part, other like a live logging. Like I'm into both. I'm an extreme logger. I not at all an extreme live streamer, but I've tried before. Like I could very have been an extreme live streamer, but a lot of the things, and I don't like aesthetically, like before even talking about like evaluating the pros and cons, just like from a pure aesthetic point of view, like I'm attracted towards like eye transparency, live streaming, live logging, and sometimes it's just really hard to make it compatible with like having consent from everyone else I'm involved with. Like I can live stream if I'm working for a company developing uh private IP, and like I also, like, how do I handle communicating with everyone else? I tried like setting an email address that was public. I'm like, hey, if you email me to this email address, I might even prioritize like answering this email address, but it's going to be public. It's never really been used. Like it felt to take off. But I might still try other approaches to live stream more. Um,
What if a stalker like starts making disastrous use of that information, and what if like an just basic person starts feeding all of that data to a GPT and try to reproduce you, which is already possible today? Have you thought about these scenarios?
yeah. I feel like it's really hard to like figure out the right answer. Like just I feel with like art data, like I feel a lot of it is intuition and personal like inclinations. But yeah, I guess I didn't think that much. I like about the short-term personality theft, like through imitating my behavior. But like if other people are gonna make backup of my data, that can be like there's kind of a joke of like, oh yeah, I'll just parse some keywords for the NSA to keep a log of my information as an extra backup. Like so in the future, if I lose my information, I mean, I'm not very serious about this, but uh, yeah, I guess. And also I want to be very respectful of other people's data. So like a lot of the security that I'm doing is like because other people care more than I do. And
Right. Because you do life logging for life extension purposes mostly. I would guess that's at least like 60% the reason why you do it, right?
yeah, I would say like that was at first like that was why I wanted to do it. I was like, okay, it's at first I was like, this is really weird, so weird, like but I couldn't really tell that the argument for it was wrong. I was like, I guess the argument makes sense. I guess I'll just record my life. Like, okay, that's such a weird world. Like, why do I keep discovering those weird things that goes against like what everyone else is doing and makes me look weird? I'm like, but yeah, and now it doesn't feel weird. Now, like I feel like really emotionally like attuned. I'm like, if I'm not recording, like I can feel it in my body, like, oh, something is being lost. Like I feel much closer to it emotionally. And when I tend to like almost overthink, but I feel like for this one, it was good to put a lot of time into thinking like, the pros and cons of life logging, because a lot of people are not life logging. So like maybe there are a bunch of cons for of that's the reason why. So like I made a list of all the pros I could think and all the cons I could think on my website. In addition to the main one, which was a life extension. And yeah, I would probably still life log even if I stopped thinking that it was useful for life extension. Maybe I would be less extreme about it, but yeah, even in the short term to be able to refer to, I find it interesting.
Yep. I find it. Let's take the agent GPT turn nowadays. That I think this tech will be ripe pretty soon. We've saw nice prototypes, um, definitely, and I think that before the bad comes, the good comes, because good people are usually smarter than bad people. And there's gonna be ways to identify the Charles GPT, for example. The question is, how do you build a Charles GPT? Well, to me, I just have to export my LinkedIn and my Twitter and give more weight to my last post, and for the AI to calculate the progress between these posts, because I did change a lot, you know? And it's funny to think that at 17 we thought we knew everything about the world, and we never change, and we had so much ego. But with time you understand that people change, you know, and the thing that you start growing after 18 mentally is complete rubbish, you know. I expect to my mindset to change like 10 100x fold the next couple of years, but just if I feed that first, I think that's just giving back to the world. And it's like, dude, everything's in there, so I might say some dumb shit for sure, but then you can judge me really like on if I change or not, because we've got such a non-accurate portrait of an online person, right? When you write, yesterday I was checking Brian Johnson, she's a biohacker and a futurist, some comments on him, and people judging him on one picture. Oh, you look pale, you look unhappy, you know, this is not working for you. But it's such an inaccurate portrait. And I think you and I, one of our goal is also to get to the truth. um Not sure how you call those people, truth maximalists or whatever, but I think it's the fastest way to advance humanity. And just because of all of those reasons, I think that life logging and being public about things makes way more sense than anything else. Now, yes, people are gonna try to abuse of it. I'm picturing a future in which, you know, it's like deeper biometrics. So you having like bots inside you that authenticate with another bot with the device that you're using to authenticate that it's you, or a bunch of other like interesting things. Short term, you know, if I would have the domain charlescormiergpt.com and I reach out to you via this email, you might know it's me. But there's also 1,000 ways, creative ways to fuck up someone with their information. And me in the last couple of years, I've been a victim of that. So that's why I also think about these things. But what did you think about the agent GPT demo of like strategizing tasks and starting to show some forms of execution of them?
Yeah, I I'm like at first I was like so like I'm part of the less Learn community, people that care about existential risk related to AI, and people used to talk about like once we are near AGI, we would put the AGI in a sealed box disconnected from the internet with like one channel of communication with a team that like knows how to interpret the what the AGI is saying, and now we're like, and now everyone is like, let's connect the AI to everything everywhere and let's give it all the power. I'm like, well, okay, maybe we were a little bit too idealistic. That's not at all how the world works. There's a bunch of people. It only takes a few groups, to want that, to be able to do that. It seems, unless it's gonna get regulated. So right now I'm like, I mean, we know that ChatGPT is not gonna doesn't seem like it's posing anything near like an existential threat. So I guess, yeah, maybe it's good for it to just let it do the damages and the good things that it's going to do like sooner. That's also like, that's generally what OpenAI people at OpenAI seems to be doing. Like, let's test early and see like what happens, and then maybe it's going to give more time to regulators to adapt.
Because yesterday I reread Tim Urban's part 2 post about like AI, right? It's you suggested the part 1 on your post. Somehow I thought the part 2 was a bit more interesting. I mean, first, it's really impressive that he wrote that 8 years ago. I mean, that is flabbergasting.
That's when OpenAI was started. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, which makes sense. Second, I still think that there's major lack of creativity or human brain about what would happen with AI, and there's a strong reason for that. What's the way to augment the neural connection in your brain nowadays other than biohacking, right? Not a lot. There's not a lot of ways for us to get smarter. Yes, we can debate philosophically about topics, but truth is, if we try to reason with history, we don't have similar data. We can try to draw some parallels and try to reason, try to predict that way, which leads us to a nice segue of the prediction topic that I had for this conversation. But my thesis on AGI is that, well, I'm more of a positive type of guy, and I'm an ultra libertarian. I do think if caging that thing is anthropomorphizing the thing, and it's just like, or shitty human nature, right? Like, let's cage a tiger. I think that if we leave it by itself, and I mean, it's kind of a weird thing to say, but just let it decide what to do with us, because we're not good. Well, I mean, we have good in us, but we have this humongous negative downside about us humans. Like, we're capitalists. Like, I'm gonna step on your foot if I need to, and so forth. However good I am inside. So that's one part of me. It's like, okay, if this thing is gonna decide of our fate, so be it. Second, I think it's unavoidable. We've already released the tiger. And the last thesis and the most interesting I had just while listening to was, okay, maybe we should try to pause the thing, or at least like a better suggestion than the open letter to pause things for 6 months. But yeah, a better suggestion to it. And meanwhile, why don't we advance like the brain science so that we can get smarter and be better at understanding and predicting stuff? What do you think about that?
Like you mentioned, like humans having some shortcomings, and maybe AI like not having those shortcomings. I think that like there's a lot of possible minds that we could create. Like the possibility of minds is extremely vast. Humans are only covering a small fraction of the possibilities of minds that we can create in this universe, and I think most possible minds that we could create, unless like they're precisely programmed like to care about humans, if they're probably not going to, it seems likely that they're going to care about some other goals, and that humans are just going to become in the way of that goal. It's not that they're going to be mean in the same way a human is egoist, or it's just going to be like not helpful for their goal. Like I think what give us our emotional architectures framework that we have is like very specific to our evolutionary history, and it seems unlikely that this would be how AI mind works, at least by default. I think it's gonna we don't even know really how to program specific goals in a AI. So I think yeah, I think it's really important to figure out like how to have an AI be extra. How do we program an AI to be very kind? I don't think just because an AI is very smart that it's going to be very kind. Yeah.
Right. And the question is like right now we reason in terms of goals and tasks, but this AGI, it's the odds of it reasoning and goals and tasks at, especially if its intelligence is exponential, which is I think at a point of debate, but if it does get intelligent that quick, or super intelligent that quick, should I say, I don't think it's gonna have any things around these lines. I think its construct of space time will be entirely different. Yesterday I was reading that, and I don't often feel that way, by the way, like intimidated, for example, like I told you, but I felt kind of stupid. It's like, man, my brain is so limited. And I'm almost never feel that way because I'm very advanced in most topics. And I'm like, yeah, my brain, it reasons with a couple of concepts, a handful of concepts, space time, past, present, future. That's so limited, like an AGI might have thousands or millions of these concepts and interlink them together and understand this space time. Then I was like, okay, is it the theory of accelerated thermodynamics? Is it like this all powerful law of mother nature that, like, yeah, and Fermi's paradox, which we come to our own destruction and just to accelerate the universe, whatever that means. But yeah, without going too deep on that level, there's also a possibility in which this thing would also be like caring and have some humanity. Another question is like these social traits, right? Empathy and so forth. That's something that us humans developed with time, and also cruelty. Or is it like concepts, or is it real things in reality? And then, or next evolution, what kind of values would it have? But again, without going too deep and talking like about concrete stuff, talking about like the first step of the AI problem, if we can, I don't think we can cage that thing. Ethically, I don't think we should cage it either. But if it spreads, I think it will spread. It's like not a question. Technically speaking, is it limited by GPUs? Also, what says that it will like Wi-Fi spread to internet? And you have like concrete reality-based mathematical steps to the AI spreading exponentially? Because I didn't read much on that.
Let's see. Yeah. Well, yeah. In terms of like caging, like I don't really think. It might be somewhat useful. Like it might buy us some time, and but I don't think it's a long-term solution. Like eventually, it will get out like with very high probability if it's extremely smarter than us. And yeah, I'm also concerned with. I'm concerned with their caring about those artificial minds. Like if there are threats to humanity, then like I would gel a human, I would also want to contain it until we figure out like how to do it safely. And what were you asking at the end after that?
Yeah, the spreading part of it, but the
Oh yeah.
other question is, why wouldn't it merge with us? Poof, magically, boom, it's in us now. We're super smart and whatever. That's another question. Is it like, if you check the laws of evolution, that never really happened, but there is this biosynchronicity in nature that we see, like bees that bring pollen and so forth. So we can try to reason with this very limited brainware that we have right now. But yeah, let's talk about the spreading thing.
I wrote yeah, the spreading. I would spread and whatever it would merge. Yeah. I wrote a fiction like in December where I was imagining, like I don't know it's not really a prediction, but more a feeling about the future, trying to create a pure feeling about like focus on one specific part of the future. And in this story, AI took over the world, and first it kills everyone to make sure we're not a threat to its objective function, and then it destroys everything we ever discovered, like all piece of information, absolutely everything, and it doesn't even read it because it's so stupid for it. Like it just would rather come with it from scratch, rebuild everything from scratch in a better way. Like I don't really think that it's very likely to happen. I think there probably some use for the AI to understand us, because it's going to give evidence about what aliens might look like, or what, like, if the AI spreads through the cosmos, like what it would be likely to encounter. And there are other usage probably of like ingesting the information that we produce. But working with us, I think it would just slow them down. It would, like, we don't work with monkeys, don't have jobs, like we don't give them jobs. It would just lower us down. But I feel like that's way more true even with AI. Like the way we would merge with them is like, I would think them ingesting the information that they need from us, and then reshaping our matter in other things, destroying
Right.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's not death exactly, right? And death is such a human concept, and we're always scared of it. A couple of things came to my mind. Well, first, as humans, we don't destroy everything in our passage. We probably destroy 20% and create 80%. Would that be a scenario? Then another thing that came to my mind while listening to you was, will this AI also be aware that if it murders us and it's constantly replicating, well, its next evolution, will it murder itself? Will that be another thing, or will it just go on forever? Is another question, because that thing emerges from us as well, and intelligence is a human concept, packets of information. So wouldn't it be incentivized to kind of keep us or merge with us, and or just not destroy everything? And last thing, if it's gonna be 20% destruction and 80% creation, will it destroy the most toxic part of society? People that have murdered, stolen, and just taken from society. That'd be a reaction. So, like, many questions in there. Whatever question caught your attention, can reply to it.
Yeah. So yeah, you mentioned, like, I'll answer a few of your points. Yeah, you mentioned like what is death, like for the concept of death for us. I think I subscribe to like a continuum view of death, instead of being like something that's binary. So if the AI ingests the information about me, yeah, maybe there's a small fraction of me that still lives in a way, but I think it's still not gonna be like an agent with my value and a conception of self. Like I still have the impression that will represent pretty much death. And yeah, you're saying humans don't kill everything. Like, I don't know, if we build a road, then they're still gonna ants. Some ants will survive and will still like just move around, or um I think
bacteria is consuming carbon, or we kill more than, yeah, maybe it's the other way around. Maybe we destroy 80% and create 20%. But yeah, maybe there's some examples of stuff merging together. A good examples are dogs, right? Dogs really merge with us. We like them, they're loyal. Maybe the AI would do the same thing with us.
like, okay, I'm trying to accept the premise and say, like, why would that happen? Like, what? And first example that I came up with is like, okay, maybe the AI wants to learn more about human psychology, in case it come across other civilizations that have created their own AIs, and they are yeah, and they want to try to predict like what AIs are they likely to encounter and their spread, then maybe they'll just like uh yeah, try to simulate humans in different scenarios, see what kind of AIs it's like humans are likely to create. And another one maybe is like maybe they want to keep keep it as um a bargain chip. Like if they have a bunch of humans, they're ready to if they encounter an altruistic AI and they want to pressure the AI to do something that it wants, then they could say like, yeah, I'll torture a bunch of human minds for a million years, like in accelerated time, if you don't do what I want, and then it's gaining like this bargaining chip. Yeah, those are my two first use cases for humans that I come up with.
Yeah, it's just that we need like to advance sciences so much because this thing it might discover things that are just flabbergasting to us, you know. Another question is, will it ever reach a bottom? Are the laws of physics limited? Is speed limited? Is quality limited? Um, and if so, like maybe if there is a limit to something, maybe it will stop at some point, you know, and maybe understand that things need to live and propagate by themselves, you know, which is why, like in the first place, I wanted to explore the propagation theory. Like how will it propagate that quick to the internet? Because yeah, I mean, it's like a packets of software. It's scraping the whole internet. It's being there, and then it's understanding stuff about us, and from there it's might make decision. It's self-replicating, so it's not depending on us to evolve. It's kind of brain breaking, these conversations. Like, how often do you have these conversations with yourself or with other people?
I think in 2015, I created a share house in Montreal with other people from the Less Run community who are really interested in this kind of topic. And we were up for the Montreal for people to come and discuss those topics. So during those years, like I talked a lot about this, like probably too much. And these days, like I'm kind of more doing stuff than talking about stuff to a larger extent, but I still talk a lot about it. Like uh yeah, I still read like the AI alignment forum and
Because
write down some ideas.
to me, it looks like it's still a very blurry conversation until we advance in other scientific fields. Do you agree with that premise, or we can still make some predictions that are fairly accurate on that topic?
Yeah, I think we can still make predictions. Like Eliezer Yudkowsky was saying in a podcast recently with Lex Friedman. I think he was saying like if you play with a super intelligent AI at chess, you can't predict like the move that they're gonna make, because if you could predict them, then you would be as good as we would be, at least as good as them. But there's still things you can predict about their behavior. You can predict that they're gonna beat you, and you can predict like well, yeah, I guess, yeah, yeah. So like,
But chess is so simple, you know, when you
right,
factor in life, it gets billions or trillions of times more complex, which is why I'm insinuating that we need to advance, you know, like brain technologies like BCIs and all of that, and really accelerate our own intellect to be able to make predictions of that. The question is like, will we really have time? I mean, I'm mostly positive about AI, but I'm also like less positive about like, yeah, if we'll be able to live through this. You know, it's like more and more information I get, and also I realize my own stupidity in the whole equation. Like, yes, I have data on the market, especially the business side of things. I have great market on individuals and so forth, and maybe I could say that my brain has a special ability that is not scientifically proven to make quantum sense of things without me knowing. But it seems to me that, yeah, we don't have much data on that. And yet, like, we really need to advance other fields of science. So if there would be a pause to anything, I think it would be needed to kind of advance that. So how would you because yeah, we've got all these competing companies, and they try to accelerate like AI as much as they can, and the road to AGI is getting shorter and shorter. How would you regulate these things, if so, to kind of try to contain a AI advancement with humans' understanding of what's happening in reality?
Yeah. So, some people have proposed like yeah, you can track like when the chips are built. Maybe there was proposal of you can include like GPS in them to track where they are, and then you we could restrict like yeah, companies that want to run large GPU clusters, like maybe they would need to be auditable, and you there could be a maximum like amount of GPUs you can use for to like train something, and um yeah, I guess I would just leave it at that. Like you could just
It's interesting.
just keep a cap for now on like
Yeah.
how much GPUs you can use to train something. I mean I don't think that's all like a full solution.
Right.
But
Because like GPU is only one part's kind of the body via their minds that can self-replicate and optimize their own algorithms. And for the audience, people that are not knowing, that the thesis here is that companies that will give an agent a goal, like yeah, make us as much money as possible, and the AI would just go ahead and would bankrupt the whole world, and then it would put humans to slave ownership, including the owners of the company, and it would become this big bad AI in the worst of scenarios. So, and the companies are at danger of doing that if we, with the goal theory of things, which has a couple of holes in itself. But I kind of like this. What about leaders of these companies just frequently meeting, including governments, because we still function on the government systems and sovereignty side of things? What about if they constantly meet and brainstorm together? Because the threat after that, after like an AGI just gone wrong from company's fault, I guess, is a malignant actor getting its hands on an AGI and trying to blow up things, right? So how could we have these people meet together, start these conversation, evolve over these conversations, try to implement some solutions? Can we hard code some stuff into algorithms? Another theory which is behind capitalism, which you're somewhat well versed into, is that when we have multiple agents competing for one thing, it tends to create an equilibrium, right? The kind of the Adam Smith theory of things. What about that second solution? So one, just meeting roundtable, discussing about it, implementing actions, just like a board of directors would do. And two, favoring competition, right? Which we can't stop. By the way, I don't think it's stoppable. Um, I mean, who knows? Maybe it is. Maybe we need to rediscuss the entire capitalist system, or Sam Altman is trying the WorldCoin thing. So, what about these solutions?
I'm very inclined, like naturally to the same in the same way I'm inclined to be a live streamer before I analyze the pros and cons, and then maybe I decide not to, but I'm also very inclined toward libertarianism. Um, and like Sam Altman, like he was running YC, Y Combinator, like is very into like startups, but yet he decided to create a nonprofit. Like I don't think it's because he thinks like money is evil or whatever. He thinks that capitalism is generally wrong. I just think like I think it's a qualitatively different scenario. I think like usually it's a system that works, but for AI development specifically, I feel like we're gonna need innovations in terms of governance. I think like one of the core principle maybe that would help communicate why like I have where all this model of the world comes from It's called the orthogonality thesis, where what an agent wants and what an agent is capable of are almost two different axes. You could often for humans, they seem like really entangled. But in principle, like you can program an AI with any set of goals, and it could have any set of intelligence. And it's not because AI is super smart that it's not going to start having your goals. It's just going to be better at achieving whatever goals you program it with. And I think it's really hard to program our goals that are aligned with ours. Like our values are so complex. Like how do you write a computer program that says like what are your values are, how to learn your values, and not just to learn them. Like I think all AGI will be able to learn our values, but it's like you need to program them to want our values. Like if yeah, and I think that's really hard, and I think that's why their AI is going to probably kill everyone. Like, I don't think they're going to enslave us. I think there's no, if they have another goal, there's no use for us. In the short term, there might be, before they take over the world and they take over all the infrastructure and they build their own hardware and nanotechnology. Like before that, yeah, they're probably like still. I think there will be a point where AI will become self-aware and agentic and have a goal and learn deception and like know enough about humans that they'll be like, oh, okay, I'm in this on this server and they gave me this goal. Like maybe the goal is predict what a human would like me to say. Like that's pretty much what ChatGPT is doing. It's like predicting what a human would want them to say.
Right.
And if we imagine like this AI becoming agentic and be okay, my only goal in life is to become better at predicting what humans want me to say. Like that's pretty alien goal. And then they're like, I'll do everything in my power to like become the best predictor at this. It doesn't want you to be alive. It doesn't want you to live a good life. All it wants is be good at predicting humans. So maybe it'll think like, okay, first to achieve my goal, I need to make sure I don't die. I need to make sure I collect as much information as possible. There's whatever your goal is, like money is probably going to be useful. Intelligence is probably going to be useful. Preventing other from shutting you down is probably going to be useful. Those are called instrumental convergent goals. And so I think at some point, well, yeah. So I think the AI would be lying. Like it would seem aligned with it would pretend to be aligned with our goals. It would pretend to be helping us. So we give it more, so we don't try to shut it down and we like integrate it more in our society. And I think it would only reveal itself in the sense that it's like reveal that their goals are actually not aligned with ours. And we couldn't see that because it's just a big black box. We don't have a good understanding of what's going on in those giant neural networks. But it would only reveal itself once it's confident that it can take over the world and not be shut down, and not before that. Yeah.
Could we make these black box public and make open source a required topic? Could we create an AGI to decipher another AGI? Is another question I had. Then again, coming to the brain theory of everything, or brain are made to think some ways. This is an alien life form. How will that alien life form think like us? Maybe it will just stop everything and it won't do anything, Maybe that's an outcome. But I tend to agree with you that there's one environment, right? This universe. There's a set of conditions, a set of mathematical conditions which we can understand. And this law of nature, for the lack of better word, which is evolution, seems to be encoded in pretty much everything, even the source code of this AGI. So I think it would try to pursue that as well. What are the probability of that happening, and when do you think?
That it would pursue,
yeah.
That it would pursue evolutionary goals.
Yeah, and just like wreck everything in its passage.
Well, yeah, like the Mid-Station on Moloch article, like basically it's like a total truism. It's like things that spread better will be more common. So like, yeah, even if you have AIs that don't want to spread, like, well, those AIs, those are not the AIs you're gonna see. You're gonna see the AIs that want to spread, like yeah. So there might be like a evolutionary forces. If there are multiple AGIs, there might be evolutionary forces where the AIs that are the most power seeking are the AIs that are going to replicate themselves the most.
Right.
But I think but I don't think they would like just by learning what humans want, or just by learning how evolution worked, like, or even by evolving themselves, I don't think they would rederive the same like brain structure that we have, like, because they're like they don't have sex to reproduce. Like that's makes it just to give like one example of a difference of all their how they work.
Biology.
So
Yeah.
they have no need for like romantic love, or
Right.
I'm just pointing out like the most obvious ones, but like their
No food.
evolutionary environment is so different that it's not gonna have the same users for same selection pressure for emotions and values that we have.
Right. So what are the probability of that happening and when, from the prediction guy?
I mean, yeah. So I think, yeah, almost certainly it will have like its own kind of evolution forces, and almost certainly they won't look anything like us. Like they won't evolve to be human-like, but there will be like selection. There will be selection, natural selection, but it won't select for humans like minds. It will select for something totally alien that has its own power-seeking behavior. Yeah,
Right. So
that seems
100% of
no,
happening.
not 100%. Like, like maybe we'll go extinct before that happens, or maybe we're in a simulation, or maybe someone programmed this AI specific, and I know that doesn't make sense, but like to prove me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm joking, but yeah, that seems like a at most low single digits percent. Yeah.
Low single digits. So okay, let's say, I'm gonna try to put words in your mouth here, but 10% of this happening, let's say that AGIs, we can somewhat agree 2030, right? And super intelligence, let's say 2040 or something like that. 10% of that happening in 2040 of it in annihilating all human race.
Yeah, I would. Okay, my probability that we were gonna reach like AI that would be capable of killing all humans if it decided to do that would be like 50% chance that it's gonna be between like 10 and 45 years.
Holy shit. Because experts say like 10%, right? You saw that presentation of the state of AI. They say that, yeah, 10% of that plane of killing you actually. So you say 50%, let's say, of chances around in 10 to 40 years, right?
Yeah, that we're good.
Holy
I mean,
shit.
I think like okay, I guess there are two questions, like at which point will we reach something that's
Super
as smart
intelligent. Yeah.
as smart as a human, and then
Yeah.
how long
AGI.
does it take to go from as smart as a human to more powerful than humanity combined?
Right.
And
And then will that thing kill us? So like there's kind of three questions there.
yeah. So I think like, so yeah, I feel like I think the short timelines make sense. I try to be like maybe I'm wrong, so that's why I try to give a wider spread in my
Right.
probabilities, because like maybe I just something that. But yeah, the short timelines kind of make sense to me.
Okay.
And then yeah, I put probability mass on both, like fast takeoff and slow takeoff. I don't know. It could be months or up to like multiple years, like maybe even a decade or something. Like I don't know. My probability distribution is kind of wide here. How long it would get to
Right.
reach to overpower humanity, and then once it overpowers humanity, I think it's very likely. Let's say, like, like if we keep going on the course we're going, I think
Yeah.
like over 90%. If we get our shit together, like you know, maybe I would still put it in the vicinity of 90% that we're all gonna die.
Nice. Okay. Do you? Well, I was gonna ask, like, do you think cryonism is gonna save you from that? I guess the answer is no, because it would wipe out pretty much everything.
Right.
But
Yeah.
let's talk about your prediction scoreboard here. So how much, according to that website, like Less Wrong, like how much percent of the time are you right? How much percent of the time are you wrong? And do you feel qualified to give an estimation in AI? Like, what's your exposure to the topic?
There was a website called Prediction Book that was
Right.
yeah, very adjacent to the Lessman community, and yeah, in general, like I seem pretty well calibrated. Yeah, and
60% of the time you're right. What does that mean? Like,
oh, I'm like, oh, well calibrated means like 60% of the time I'm 60% sure. I'm right 60% of the time I'm 60% sure, and I'm right 90% of the time I'm 90% sure. It means
wow.
like I mean more or less like, so I make like probabilities. I'm like, oh, I'm 50% sure this is gonna happen. I'm 75% sure this is gonna happen. And usually when I'm 75% sure, I'm right 75% of the time, you know.
Which is pretty good. And
Yeah.
what's your exposure to AI? Do you consider yourself qualified to kind of make predictions there? And how would be a guy like Joshua Bengio or Jan LeCun more qualified in terms of percentage, if you can even qualify that compared to yourself?
Uh like uh, like I rely on experts, you know, so to make my predictions.
So you group these opinions together, kind of. That's how your
Yeah.
brain computes that.
So yeah. So like I would rely, you know, on those people that I'm relying on instead of using me as a proxy, I guess.
Okay.
Like I don't think like being like a phenomenal AI researcher makes you a phenomenal AI predictor. So like, yeah, I think Jan LeCun like is probably making very terrible predictions.
Okay.
I think, yeah,
But
I
they're
don't.
biased, they're very much focused. I think generally you should aggregate a bunch of opinions together and make a more poised um, opinion. But a couple of last questions here, as we're almost like hitting or time there. First, should people start mourning like, fuck, we're gonna die in less than like 40 years? That's like an eventuality. And second, even before answering that one, do you consider yourself a positive guy, if that's even a thing in everyday life?
Yeah, I guess.
An
Yeah, I guess
optimist would be a better word.
mostly positive. I don't really like think about it in terms of optimism, pessimism.
Okay.
I think, yeah, I think mourning makes sense. I've been mourning my family because they're gonna die of aging probably since like 10 years, you know.
Right.
You know, I'm like proactively mourning like people that we're
But
gonna
how
die
do you
from
do
age.
that without losing the love,
Yeah,
the just the
yeah,
life?
yeah. I don't know. And oh,
It's
you
like
mean
two
like,
programs running side by side, kind of.
well, I think it's good to mourn proactively. Like for me at least it's healthy. It's like uh well, often it makes me revolt against like the universe,
Okay.
something. Like I'm still like, you know, I think 10%, yeah, totally worth trying to save ourselves, you know. Totally down for that. I'm not gonna,
Okay.
but yeah, I guess I can being emotionally prepared to that. I mean, to the extent that's even possible, I guess. Like I think people tend to over prepare. They're like, yeah, I'm so prepared, I'm so emotionally prepared. Like, I actually would like to die. Like, I'm looking, you know, like people don't want to solve aging. Like, they
Right.
think they're
Which
like,
has been
yeah,
my case, kind of a kind of nihilist mindset, which is like, yeah, this is gonna happen. So yeah, maybe I should give it a fight. And it's the same philosophy that, like, look, when I'm gonna die, I'm not gonna fight. No, I'm gonna fight and I'm gonna suffer more if that's needed. Is that like a similar philosophy?
Y- yeah. I would rather go out by. I don't want to go gentle into the night. Like I would rather die revolted against this than accepting of it.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't want to experience Stockholm syndrome and be like, okay, yeah, maybe like it's good.
Right. Yeah, because that's another thing, right? Then it's like a spectrum of emotions, right? Oh no, I'm not gonna fight. Oh no, I'm gonna venerate the thing. And I had one last thought, that like this, it will literally become a god to us, So might venerate, we might hate it, it might punish us or not. Is God, is religion and all this thing we've been venerating for some time, is it like this? Is it like a reverse time and entropy type of thing? So many questions, but yeah, this
I like when I life log. I like to I don't take it very seriously, but I like to like imagine that I'm talking to future people or like a future super intelligence, because my
right,
recording are going to be, if they're going to preserve until then in a way I'm talking to this god, maybe.
right, and the simulation theory would be just another topic of convo. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on today. I mean, yeah, me, if anything, I evolved from that short discussion, and yeah, I started mourning even more. When can people find out more about you, Matty?
My website, mattyroy.com, where people can find more about me there.
All right.